I was born and reared in Elizabeth, New Jersey. My most notable memory as a kid was when a clarinet wound up in my room the day after my father took me to a Benny Goodman concert at the Adams Theater in Newark. I actually learned the instrument by listening to Goodman records. A saxophone showed up later, and I was soon playing in big bands and small combos through junior high, high school, college, and thereafter. I signed up for a business curriculum on my way to college, but changed my mind when I got there and enrolled in the engineering program at the University of Illinois. I also managed to play at college fraternity parties and jazz concerts. And then I followed my brother to Yale University Graduate School to study with the father of modern structural engineering, Hardy Cross. Hardy Cross, who taught me how to think about the subject. Much of what I studied before that has faded, but I have never forgotten what he taught me. In 2010, at the ACI convention in Pittsburgh, I was honored to give the final address in a commemorative lecture series dedicated to Hardy Cross. I apprenticed for about 12 years at various engineering firms before I entered private practice.
I walked into Ed FINKEL's office 45 years ago, and right away we hit it off. He was designing a lot of warehouse floors where the industrial floor was the big concern. Shrinkage, cracking, curling were the issues of the day, and we proceeded to address them. I also prevailed on Ed to join the ACI Committee on Floors, which I was already on, and he did so and became a very important player there. He early on recognized that a lot of work needed to be done in this field, proceeded to do it. He did the first super flat floor in the area, proceeded to lengthen joint spacing, eliminate cracking and curling to a great extent, became a leader in the industry, and has done that work successfully all over the country and Canada.
I soon learned that my term was to be 2 years, the first of which began with me. I moved on and tried to emulate the presidency of Orrin Riley.
I first met Ed about 30 years ago. We were both civil engineers, we were both PEs, and we were both members of the ACI. I actually never worked together with Ed though. He actually is a designer and I'm a construction guy, and he was also working in buildings and doing floor work with architects. I was always working with engineers on bridges and on highways and things of that nature. So we didn't work together, but we did get together at ACI very, very frequently. And we found out very, very soon that we had a commonality of interests. For example, Ed and I both wrote papers on the fact that it's the physics of aggregate gradation that's the key to avoiding shrinkage in concrete. You don't need all of these chemical additives. Second thing we agreed upon was in the matter of measuring workability. They talk about slump, but slump is such a negative thing. Like we should talk about its robustness, a positive thing. For example, you're not looking for a 3-inch slump, you should be looking for a 9-inch erection. That will get everybody's attention on the job. And Ed always agreed with me on points like that. So it was with the ACI that we got to know each other and got to be very fast friends. It turned out that we also, although we grew up with different beginnings, you can just look at the names Riley and FINKEL, you can figure all that out. But we wound up having the same philosophical, the same political, the same social views with each other. Then came the coup de grace when I finally found out what an accomplished jazz musician he was. I followed him around to many of the finest jazz joints in Manhattan and still do.
I continue to take great pride in this organization. Having started at a time when we were growing into what became one of the largest chapters in the U.S. And he won the perennial excellent chapter award regularly. I wasn't a big hit on the golf course at the ACI outing in June, despite the fact that Bob Demas tried to coach me and Jim Pash warned me about the ducks approaching before a water hazard. What I got was an honorary seat in Bob's golf cart, and they optioned me off to the Yogi Berra foursome at the Montclair Country Club.
Well, Ed is kind of a unique individual. You have to remember that many of his engineering contemporaries are either in a retirement village or they're just plain gone. But Ed is just like the Energizer Bunny. He just keeps on going. I have to relay a story about when he got hired by W.W. Granger, when they wanted him to basically look at their floors in their stores and their distribution centers. So he embarked on doing a new specification, which he did for them. And of course, put all the things in that he likes. You know, make sure that it's a workable mix design. Make sure the shrinkage is low. Make sure the joint spacing is realistic. Making sure they cure and seal it the proper way, right? And last but not least, he made sure that there was a good testing laboratory on the job to make sure that everybody adhered to a specification. Ed became so good at it that some of the local distributors also utilized Ed's services in consulting for slab on grade.
My association with ACI has been the foundation for my quest to achieving low shrinkage prescriptive concrete floor mixes for industrial floors. I did manage to play hooky from work, traveling on the road and the high seas on the Queen Elizabeth II with the Jimmy Dorsey Orchestra featuring Helen O'Connell. Since then, I've been taking a half day off on Fridays to play with the Jazz at Noon band in New York City, a landmark musical institution.
Ed is certainly a great addition to the floor industry nationwide, and I consider him a great friend and a great engineer.
Ed's been a good friend of mine for over 40 years. It's been a pure joy to have him as a friend, and I think he's a well-deserved honoree for this 50th anniversary dinner. Thank you, Ed.
So, in summary, I used to call myself an Irishman by heritage, an engineer by training, and a disappointed romantic by experience. Ed I would describe as a Polish Luntsman by heritage, an engineer by training, and a superb artist by experience. Ed, congratulations.
I am humbled by this honor this evening and proud to share it with my colleague Jack Macedo, my children, my grandchildren, and of course, my beloved wife, Arlene, who likes to tell people, you know, he's got two professions, but he can't make a living in either one of them.